All right, good morning, guys. So after a long pause, the Yardbird Tuna Show, I brought it back, and I want to take this moment to explain what is going to happen here because we recorded this episode. Brother Ben came back in. We had the guest Taylor on the show, and it was an extremely political show. And I thought that there was just so much content that we honestly didn't cover. After the show, we kind of hung around and discussed our options, and basically what we came up with is we're going to start a new podcast called the American Divide, and the principle is going to be the same as what you're going to listen to on this episode in particular. Is Taylor is of a different political mindset than me. She identifies as a democratic socialist. I identify as a libertarian, more right leaning. So I'm right leaning. She's left leaning. And then Brother Ben is kind of like the middle of the road. He's a historian, and he's more of our facts kind of person. And then of course Tony from One Podcast at a Time was here, and shared a little input as well. And so this episode isn't going to be your traditional Yardbird Tuna style. Of course, I'm always going to be crude and make my ridiculous jokes, but it's going to be, this is the introduction to an absolutely new podcast. I hope you guys tune in and check it out. We're in the works. We're getting some content together right now and trying to get ourselves a little more organized. And I have been known to be extremely unorganized when it came to this podcast in particular. So stay tuned. Also, this particular episode, I broke into two segments because it was just too long. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I'm going to give you the first half, and then next week I'm going to release the second half. And stay tuned, guys. I really hope you enjoy it. I think it's great content. I think it was a great conversation. I think this next podcast is going to be. It's going to be something interesting, And also, let me reiterate that this is not a debate platform. That's not what we're doing here. It's not to come in here and prove each other wrong, because I think that doesn't solve anything. In fact, I think that Ben and Taylor agreed with me on the fact that right now that's our culture, is to try and prove each other wrong. And it's kind of useless. It's not solving anything. So here in the United States of America, we are allowed to think differently, and therefore it is necessary for all of us to exist and not prove each other wrong. We are going to debate. We are going to have disagreements, but we have to find common ground. And I don't think that's where we're at politically right now. So I think that this next podcast is necessary. Anyway, guys, I've talked long enough, like I always do. Here is your episode.
Even if you weren't my roommate, I would go out of my way to attack you. If I were alive or a tuna, I would swim out in the middle of the ocean and eat you.
It's gonna be the best fucking tuna you have ever fucking had.
Yardbird Tuna. Dude, why'd you look at me like that?
I'm just taking in the intro.
That's my kid screaming.
I loved it, but I wasn't sure if it was your kid screaming or not, so I was like, what's the symbolism behind this baby crying?
That's the symbolism. That's all the people that I offend crying.
I didn't know. Oh my god, snowflake liberals.
We're already starting. We're already taking pop shots. All right, so
I'm
this
staying
is
quiet for now.
this
I'm not saying a thing.
this is the Yardbird Tuna podcast, and I've been out of commission for 4 months. I've been hiding in a bunker, like eating cans of tuna fish and baked beans, because I was afraid that my neighbors were going to infect me.
No spam?
This is all bullshit. I was working on another podcast, one podcast at a time, with some friends. Tony's in the house. Tony's here. Yeah, man. So I took a little momentary break, and now we're back. But this time we're gonna go. Never mind.
We're
I
gonna
almost-
go legitimate.
I almost said like something foul, and then I like paused in my head, and I was like, "No more dick and fart jokes. No more dick and fart jokes." All right, we're not gonna go balls deep. Don't say anything.
And he does it
Don't say
anyway.
anything. Well, I had to explain it, otherwise everybody listening is like going to be like, "What the fuck is this idiot talking about?" So anyway, here we are in season 2 of Yardbird Tuna. Season 2 is that even? I can't say season 2. I'm a fucking moron. Guys like me don't have a second season. So
It could be season 1.5.
this is like Yardbird Tuna. Let's try again. So
It's like,
that's what we're gonna call this season. Let's try again.
didn't like Jackass movies come out with like Jackass 1.5,
Dude, fuck them guys.
2.0.
You know what?
2.0?
I'm not following anything they do. All right.
Well, I don't think anybody's following anything what they
Yeah.
do. They have dropped off the relevancy meter so hard since the early 2000s that
I follow him still.
You had a Jackass member on your other podcast.
Let's not talk about that right now.
Shout
Okay.
out.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
All right, I'm not going to promote the other podcast.
Listen, man, they're humans. I'm sure they got their struggles. I know for a fact on the other show, we definitely talked about the struggles of one of them. So, anyway, listen, man. So, I am going to make a worthy attempt. I have some friends in the house tonight. We got Brother Ben back.
hello.
We have the lovely Taylor. I have no nickname for you. So, the listeners are going to stalk you and say creepy shit.
Great.
And we got Tony from One Podcast at a Time. He's here to
I'm the info guy.
he's the info guy. He's our young Jamie, as they say on one of the other famous podcasts that I'll never be anything like. But anyway, we're gonna attempt again. Didn't we try this before, Ben?
We did. We got about one episode in, and I think how many times did we wander off topic in that short
lot.
span? A lot. It's hard. It's once you start getting into politics, as everybody I think at the table knows, it's really hard to stay on topic. There's a lot going on.
There's layers like an onion.
Layers like an onion. That's so funny that you mentioned that.
She was listening.
Yeah, she paid attention to me. There was
do
no
that.
dick and fart joke in that one.
There you go.
Yeah. I think we should explain what we're doing tonight. I think so me, I'm going to openly say, as I've said in the past, I think at the moment, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kick you. I just kicked my guest because I'm an asshole. I am, at the moment, a self-proclaimed libertarian, I would say, but even that is debatable sometimes. Brother Ben.
I am a registered Republican.
Whoa!
Wait. And the reason I am a registered Republican, as you might find out later if you have to do repairs to your home, where we live is very heavily Republican.
Yes.
And I was told before I moved in, if I did not register as a Republican, I wouldn't be able to get the permits I needed to repair my home. Having been through that process now, I'm fairly certain that was a fact. So yeah, it was. Let me say, I will say, for the most part, they were really good to me. They were really good to me. But we put a lot of money into the house, and it took us about 3 months to fix it. So if I had had any roadblocks in that span of time, it would have been really bad. But let's just say I am the quintessential independent voter for right now, because I do not ever vote along party lines.
Them damn swing voters.
Yeah, I don't pull that lever, man.
No.
I take a look at each line.
This asshole reads.
I do.
We don't need them kind.
Shame on me for thinking.
Thinkers. Goddamn thinkers. And that leads us to our guest, Taylor.
And I am a registered independent. But I lean towards democratic socialism.
Ooh!
The
Ooh.
S word.
Ooh!
Yeah.
There's a
That's
tightening in the
almost as
bottom
bad
end.
as the L word, liberal.
A liberal?
I did a lot
I
of reading
take
before.
deep offense to when people call me a liberal.
Funny thing.
It's deeply offensive to me.
Really?
Yes.
I was reading up on this. If you mind for a second, I'll break in. From the Reagan presidency to now, the use of the word liberal, and especially in the George W. Bush presidency, the use of the word liberal as a pejorative, as a negative statement, like skyrocketed.
Oh yeah.
Skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So where liberalism used to mean you were like a little left to center and was applied from, for all kinds of people on the left, in America, being called a liberal, similar to being called a socialist, is like, ooh,
We've weaponized it.
oh yeah, it's a bad thing.
That's a big thing that I honestly, like in the research that I did before the episode, just so I don't sound like a complete idiot, America...
No, that's my job.
America has done a great job of weaponizing a lot of words surrounding politics, and I think liberal is one of them now. Except that, I do know liberals, and they're the blue no. It's like I'm like
so are
trying
you allowed
to
to
watch my words because I really don't want to offend anybody, but they're the blue no matter who people, and that's not me. I never vote along party lines. I've voted Republican, I've voted Democrat, I've voted Independent, Libertarian. There is really no, to me, it's the candidate, not the party. But I think that's something that we'll get into.
So, so of course, we're trying to record a podcast, and if you can't hear it, that's my child screaming at the top of her lungs in the background, because that's how professional I am. Anyway, so we're going to dive into politics. I thought that this conversation, particularly because Ben is so big on history, and Taylor so passionate about, what you think and what you believe, I honestly respect the fact that although we sometimes disagree politically, I think that you're not a parrot. I do believe that you're a person that does research and wants to know what is the whole story and then makes a decision. And that's honestly why we're all sitting here tonight. And Tony is just awesome because he just hangs out and just cruises.
I'm the parrot.
You shut up, parrot. You shut up. Polly want a cracker? But I don't know, man. So I guess my objective tonight, honestly, is like many people, when I've told them that we're going to have this conversation, they instantly thought, okay, well, who's going to oppose Taylor? Because a lot of our friends in this neighborhood know your strong political opinions. And I instantly defended you, actually. And I said, well, we're not having a fucking debate. That's not what we're here to do tonight. I think the biggest problem in our country...
They also know that you don't want to debate me. I'm just
Ooh,
kidding.
man.
Listen, don't fucking, don't step on my junk, all right, dude? My wife's upstairs, and only she gets to do that, all right? We're into weird shit, all right?
Oh
no,
my
I'm just
God.
kidding.
Red
But,
high heels?
What's that?
Red high heels?
When you saw them, they're in the closet. I usually wear them. But I think that, and I don't think you guys would disagree with me, that politically right now, we are so divided. And to me, that's the bigger concern. It's not a matter of this person thinks different from me, and therefore I need to beat them on the head and force them to believe what I believe, because I think that is a useless battle. And I'm quite frankly tired of it, Like, I have my beliefs, and I've come to this maturity that it's okay if you believe different. In fact, I don't think, truthfully, in my soul, that I am a real libertarian, because I don't believe that there's any party that's ever going to fully fix the problem of Americanism, or I think we need the choice to be all of it,
Yep.
So, without further ado, let's dive into this MFer. Who you guys voting for?
When they present a decent candidate, I'll vote for him. How about that?
What about Mama Joe?
So I lived in Delaware for a long time, right? And in Delaware, he's our Joe.
No.
Huh.
Mama
Absolutely
Joe.
not.
I got no idea who that is.
Joe Jorgensen, the libertarian candidate.
Oh God, forget about it. I don't even know who he is. That's how
it's a
relevant he is.
woman.
It's how relevant. He, she, who cares? That's how relevant they are.
That's
how relevant they are.
Now I feel like we're on the border of a debate. Let's not debate right now.
No, well, okay. So something I wanted to touch on is the two-party system.
Sure.
And I think that's a good
I think
place
that
to
we
start.
all need to touch on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the two-party system, like, there's plenty of, like, George Washington in his inaugural address was like, we don't need two parties, guys. This
He
is
was
a bad
the only
idea.
independent candidate to ever be elected to presidency.
Yeah. So
I didn't know
people-
that.
Yeah. So people, regardless of what's going on, will take sides, right? And they'll start to form camps. And now
He said it would be the downfall of America.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I'm not sure he's wrong, but you're going to get that anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it in Europe with a plurality of they still have to form a coalition government in order to rule. It's just more chaotic than even what we have here in some cases and some countries. But I'd like to know what your thoughts on a two-party system are, and if you think it provides enough choice for the American people.
Answer, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I come from a funny background with politics, right? Because my father is a local politician, has been since I was a young child, and he is a Republican. I wouldn't call him a conservative. He was pretty moderate when it came to social issues my whole life. And that's what I grew up with, knowing, like, my thoughts on a Republican growing up were they are more fiscally frugal, maybe.
Yeah.
That was my idea around it, that I really looked at it as a monetary and economic difference to Democrats. That was my major point of reference. And then I also remember, like, kind of understanding around 9/11. Mind you, I was 8 years old. Like, I remember the divide of, you know, who wanted to go to war and who didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand at the time that was, like, Democrat versus Republican. I just knew that some people didn't think that it was appropriate for us to go to war, and that other people did. And that in my household, yes, we are going to war.
Yeah.
So I was raised in the political arena, and when I turned 18, I knew absolutely that I was not going to register Republican. I knew that wasn't happening, and I also knew that I didn't really support Democrats either, so I went independent, and I kept engaged. Like, I probably would have voted for Obama in 2008 had I been eligible. Wasn't. In 2012, when I was eligible, I voted for Gary Johnson. I did.
Get a high five for that one.
I
Hell
did.
Yeah.
I voted for Gary Johnson.
My kid's coming over for a high five also.
Oh, hey. I was a stoner at the time, and I knew that he, like, very much supported the legalization of marijuana, so I voted for Gary Johnson. And I also went on a deep dive, like, conspiracy theory behind Obama, so I just wasn't going to vote for him. But anyway, I was a registered Democrat for the past 4 years because of Bernie Sanders. He was the only political candidate that I had ever seen that I aligned with, that I trusted and believed in, that you could look at whether you agreed with his politics or not. You can look at Bernie Sanders in 1980 and look at him in 2020, and his beliefs are the same. You know, he's never really wavered. So I loved him. He's let me down greatly. And now I'm at a point, right, as a democratic socialist, so I had to do some deep diving on democratic socialism in America. So there's a group called the Democratic Socialists of America. And I don't really subscribe to these groups. Like, I just know that my political ideals align with them to a point. And they're basically their ideas. So I have a few pages here that I made some notes on. What did I say to you last night? Because I'm not going to say it.
Well, so no, I won't call you out like that. I won't do that.
No,
but
you can say it. I just won't say it on here.
She says, "Holy shit! My kid just turned on the fireplace." All right, we got chaos going on here.
Kid-friendly show.
I did want to ask though, because I am curious, and I think I have an idea in my mind what this organization or group is, but I don't know. I'm curious. I guess I'll let you read some of your notes and then pick your brain about it, you know? So, I mean, because I am fascinated, and I don't want it to come off as an attack why you were a Bernie supporter of any kind. Listen, like I said earlier, I do believe that everybody has the right. I mean, you flat out said, and many people, I just had a little debate with a guy on Facebook earlier today that, you know, he's like, third party's never going to fucking win. That way, that's why I'm not voting for them. And I'm like,
That's
you know,
not
of course,
even what it's about at this point, though. Like, we know that the third party isn't going to win, but
It's
if
a
you,
protest vote.
yeah, if you ever,
Yeah.
it's a protest vote, and if you ever want Citizens United overturned, then you have to vote for third party. That's, sorry.
damn. Listen, man, I don't know what's going on here, but we are agreeing. Okay, Ben and I probably not so much. Actually, Ben started out with the "fuck the Libertarian Party" comment. I mean, that's what I heard. It sounded like that to me.
No, I just think for me, there's a realism about it. Like, some idiot is going to be the president of the United States, and unfortunately, it's going to be one of two idiots. So let me say, I say idiot. There obviously there has to be some minimum intelligence requirement to get to the presidency, right?
Does there, though?
It could be argued. It could be argued. Either by them or their advisors who put them there. But I really do think that, what am I trying to say? We are only given two choices. And as I have, if you vote third party as a protest, because you really just don't trust who they put up, I know a lot of people say, well, a vote for somebody else is not a vote for this guy or that guy.
Oh, I got accused of that by my family members.
It is the truth, but you're still voting.
Yeah.
You're still saying, I don't like either one of these.
Yeah.
It's not that I would prefer one over the other. You're saying, I don't like either one. But the realist in me says, well, it's going to be one of those two. And it sucks, but
You're going with the lesser of two evils theory.
Well,
the South Park, what was it? Giant douche.
the giant douche shit sandwich. Yeah. And it's like, so.
Damn, you knew his reference, man. You were on that shit.
Yeah.
That's the only episode of South Park I've ever watched, except for the one where
I watch them all.
Chuck Norris saves Jesus.
Yeah,
or
I've
something.
seen quite a few. Yeah, it was funny. So,
dude, there's nothing more awesome than having a serious political conversation and my kid just walking up laughing at us. She has no idea the
Or
goddamn
she does.
world that we currently
Or
live
she
in.
does.
no, but so in 2016, I protest voted. I wrote in Bernie Sanders. I actually and the whole the social media aspect of all of this is like a big part of it for me or whatever. But I wrote in Bernie Sanders. In 2016, I was not voting for Hillary Clinton, or Trump. Wasn't going to do it. Now I'm in a predicament of the same sort.
Yeah.
Not to get, I don't want to get too, this is supposed to be lighthearted, and I don't want to get
let's dive.
No, but for me, right, I'm a woman. I am a survivor of sexual assault, and I have people on the left and people that were supporting Bernie Sanders tell me, and in the age of Black Lives Matter, which I'm very much in support of, tell me that I am exercising my privilege by refusing to vote for Biden, which I think is incredibly unfair and dismissive to women in general, which are arguably the most marginalized group of human beings in human history. And if you want to subsection that into sexual abuse and assault survivors, that's an even bigger marginalized group of our society. And for anybody to tell me that I am basically stepping on the toes of my Black brothers and sisters, my LGBTQ community, I just think that it's heinous to say that to anybody, because ultimately, I didn't make this system, right? I'm not the one that is allowing two different candidates to run that have been accused multiple times of sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
I didn't do that, right? And I don't know who did it. I don't know. In 2016, I believe the election was completely rigged. Completely. I think there's evidence to that. This time around, I don't know if it was rigged or not. I know that there was a lot of gerrymandering, closing of polling locations. I don't know if it was at the scale of 2016 or it just didn't get the publicity that it did. But something weird happened. I don't know what happened. We had the first 3 states, Bernie swept, right? And you get to South Carolina, and it's like it doesn't matter that Bernie swept those 3 states, and the media just said Biden's going to be the candidate, and then the rest, everybody else fell in line, including Bernie. Yeah. Sorry, I'm upset about it still. He upset me.
That's okay.
He upset me. It was just, seriously, I sat there and cried when he announced that he was going to drop out of the race. So even in my position where, like, I was looking forward to voting for a Bernie Sanders presidency, I didn't get that opportunity again. And now I have to sit back and, like, be called names and saying that I'm too woke. Like, oh, you're too woke to vote for Biden. Like, if that's what it is, then yeah, I guess so. I don't really...
Well, what I think you're talking about is what can be summed up in a meme that my wife sent me, and it was a bus, and it was somebody falling off the back of the bus, or a pickup or something like that, and the person falling off was #MeToo, and the bus was Biden 2020. And I think that's a perfectly valid thing to be upset about. You know, don't get me wrong, Joe Biden, he's just creepy. I'm sorry. He's just creepy. And there are multiple allegations of misconduct. There's multiple video clips of just creepy behavior.
Trump's involvement with Epstein is there.
Oh, yeah.
It is there, right? So we have, because I don't want to make this like a bash sesh on just Biden.
No, you have 2 candidates.
Yeah, we have 2 candidates that are terrible.
Proven, well, not, see, here's the problem. Not proven, but in the court of public opinion, both are guilty of misconduct.
Right, and we could dive into that too. Because I just don't really, I hate seeing the like, well, where's the evidence? Like, there isn't really, unless someone goes and gets a rape kit done, there's no evidence.
Well, part of part of what you touched on.
Bye, baby.
Bye.
My wife would love to hang out and listen in on this conversation, but unfortunately my child wants this microphone so bad. So I apologize for the interruption, guys, but we're definitely, I mean, I'm sitting quiet because honestly, I think there's so much going on here that I don't even need to start with my dick and fart jokes. So please let me shut up now and continue, please. So you guys are killing it.
Let me see. So, yeah, it shouldn't be a Joe Biden bash session because
there's enough bashing to go around.
Yeah, there's plenty. Yeah, we can level blame it just about anybody in power today, I think, and with an exception of Bernie Sanders, who I found to be a very genuine candidate, and as genuine a politician as you can get. It's part of the reason I really like the guy. I really don't agree with a lot of his policies, and as far as the social democrat thing goes, I would like to see him distance himself from that, but it's not who he is, and he's not going to do it. And wow, that's reason enough to vote for a guy. He's going to stick by his guns.
Yeah, and
even if people say that's not popular.
And that's part of the whole conversation of like this word of socialism being weaponized in America, right? And what do we use as a example of socialism failing?
So maybe
what do we know?
We're Stalin, Pol Pot, Hitler,
Soviet Union.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'll be perfectly honest with you. If I had to choose right now, if honestly, if Bernie was on the ballot against Trump, I would vote Democrat. I would.
Yeah.
And I I do agree with Ben in the sense that I don't necessarily, I am a veteran, so we are indoctrinated into this idea that communism and socialism are bad. That's the bad guy, like we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
But I think we should take this moment to break down what is socialism and how we're all using it right now. It is very much in our lives, and nobody is even aware or wants to admit. I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. And Ben, you've worked on job sites, and I'm sure you've witnessed this too. And I think it is quite hysterical. This is where I'm going to talk a little shit right now, because guys, my friends that are union members, I have very bad news for you. Very bad news.
I know where's this going.
You are a socialized Democrat. You are. You earn the same wage as the guy next to you, regardless of how hard you work.
Or skill or ability.
And
Or how often you show
arguably a Marxist.
That's the
Yep.
truth. Unfortunately, that's where your vote should go because you are not aware of where your money comes from. That's it, man. So when you tell me that you support Trump and you're a hard conservative Republican, I call bullshit because you should quit your fucking job and turn down the union.
Go work for a non-union shop for a week.
Yeah, that's the simple fact. And I'm not saying anything bad, but I'm saying you don't understand the true nature of who you are and where you're coming from. So,
and I think that's a lot of Americans today, because like I posted something yesterday that my wonderful, handsome boyfriend sent to me about doom scrolling, right? I'm so guilty of this. It's like when you are scrolling through the internet and you're consuming all of this negative information, right? Because I could parrot to you all of the heinous things that I have seen and read over the past 2 months, right? Just heinous. Like we were having the cop talk earlier, like the videos I've seen of police brutality in the last few months, like the articles that I've read about experiences of racism, and just it's seriously overwhelming, and I can't stop myself because I feel like it's my duty as an American to be informed. And I don't just do the I'm going to click this article and take it at face value. I do try my hardest to do a bit more of a deep dive than that. Because I see, I have the CNN app on my phone, and the articles that I get notified of, even the titles of them are so biased and propaganda against the right. That's
Sure.
what it is. I'm gonna call it like it is. Even some of the articles that I read, reading the articles, it's just what the hell? And I don't know if I would be as cognizant of it if I wasn't a Bernie supporter and seeing what the left did to the biggest grassroots campaign in human history. So I guess I'm a bit more cognizant of it than your average person, because I watched it happen to who I was supporting and people like me. But yeah, I think that a lot of us as Americans, right, we're okay, well, this is what I believe in. And then we repost a bunch of memes. Don't you love the meme posters? The people that, with the coronavirus, just post a meme and it's somebody spewed out a bunch of bullshit and made it into a meme. And then everybody takes it as fact. That's
the news.
That's the news
That's
for
the
people.
news nowadays. And so there's a difference. I will say this. I make memes. I make my own memes. And I do try to push an agenda sometimes, or I'm trying to make awareness of something, or sometimes I fail. I'm not always the funniest guy. But what I think you're referring to is these people that just find some shit floating around in the internet. Abraham Lincoln was the first president, and he cured COVID. And, that's a quote from, Alexander Hamilton. Oh, okay, that really happened.
Well, there's one that's floating around that says, in 2013, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden met with this doctor to get a vaccine patent for CV-19.
I think I read
and
that.
Actually, this is just a stock photo, and I completely made all of this up, but you keep reposting memes like this. That's what's happening. That's that was the best meme for this time period.
Russian infiltrators? Is that what you mean?
I saw. Oh yeah, it's Russia. The Soviets, they're still at it.
Goddamn commies. They're trying to
Don't
get us.
think for a second that Putin's not still at it. But
Oh
yeah.
my god. Well, yeah. Did you guys watch? This is kind of off key.
Let's do it. This is what we do on the Yardbird Tuna Show. Come on, let's
Did you
do it.
guys watch My Cartoon President?
No, I never got into that.
I think it was on Showtime, but it's on Hulu.
I'll watch it tonight.
Holy shit. Stephen
He's a parrot.
Colbert.
We'll listen.
Stephen Colbert made the show, and it's a cartoon of Trump and his family and his time in the White House. And whenever anybody mentions Putin, several times throughout the series, it's Putin is Trump's best friend, or at least Trump thinks that Putin is his best friend, so he'll be like up late at night on the toilet, like texting Putin, like, "Hey, are you up? What are you doing? You have time to talk?" It's just hysterical.
See, that's pretty clever. I like that.
You know,
I like that.
on the conspiracy tinfoil hat shit, man, I have. Listen, if we're going to diverge from politics momentarily, I mean, somebody reel me back in here when we have the moment. But I do want to say this. And Ben, you're the historian, so you can beat me up if I'm incorrect here. But I think about the ending of the Cold War. You know, like this big monumental moment. We're going to knock down the wall, tear down the wall. And that's the end of the Cold War. The end of espionage and spies, and we're not going to...
Sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. You know, like, so my thought is, like, this new introduction of socialism, sometimes I wonder, you know, maybe they infiltrated the media and Hollywood and these other ideas and slowly trickled this idea in. Not now. This is where maybe it's, I don't know. I think maybe it had an effect, but this is where I'm going to side with you a little bit. I don't think as a society, this is when the libertarians cut me off and they say, "Fuck you, we hate you. You're not one of us." But I don't think as a society we can continue into the future as free market capitalists. And as much as I enjoy my freedom, but I do know, you know, traveling into space and doing things that we want to do as a species and continuing into the future, learning how to take better care of this planet, we're not going to do this by just simply shitting on everybody else and just taking what we want. And now the libertarians are shunning me. I'm aware of that, and fuck them, you know, because I'm a free-thinking human, and I do think, we need a little bit of everything. That was my original landing on the Libertarian Party, was because I looked at the Republican Party and I looked at the Democratic Party, and I said, man, I like a little bit of this, and I like a little bit of this, and I don't like a lot of federal government. And that's kind of where I ended up on the libertarian spectrum, you know. But that's, at the moment, I don't know if I'll ever have a party that fits me, but I believe that we all need a choice. And that's where I'm not afraid to sit down with a democratic socialist and discuss politics and life, because I think we need these. We need all of it. In fact, it's already here. Yeah. Your fucking libraries and your schools are all socialist organizations.
Your streets.
So, not that I think the school district's that great, but you know.
I'm gonna reel you back in for a sec, because you touched on a lot of stuff there.
I know.
First, I'm gonna hit you up on the Cold War. You're exactly right. Cold War, as it was, did not end. But don't think for a minute that the people that we were adversaries against during the Cold War suddenly went like, "Oh, everything's better now."
Yeah.
Doesn't
hey, we're a democracy now, just like you guys. You win, United States.
I read a really good book, and that kind of tried to break down sort of national psychology, as it were, based on geography. And Russia is huge, but they are not terribly well protected by geographical features.
No.
Okay.
Meaning they will always be scared that the Germans are going to invade them.
Oh.
Because it happens
there's no
twice.
land
and
barriers.
There's no barrier. And so I think that same concern, there's kind of less of a concern because they have all of Siberia as a buffer between them and China, but we're still the West. We're still the boogeyman to the West that the Russians have always been scared of, and have had really good reason to in this century to be scared of,
well,
or this past
question...
century. Sorry, I'm 20 years too late.
Yeah. My question for you is, does location matter anymore?
Absolutely.
You think it does?
Yeah.
With nuclear weapons, you really think it does?
I think that I'm not, maybe this is me being naive. I think that we crested the hump of nuclear annihilation. I mean, it's still knocking. Don't get me wrong. The
ultimate pissing contest?
Like 5 minutes to midnight, right? But I think that somehow magically, as a species, said, we really don't want to die in nuclear fire. Let's put that as the last option. And if that isn't as much of a thing as it was, we still see conventional warfare all over the globe. And I'm not saying you're going to see conventional warfare between great powers. Like, we're not going to go have this giant Pacific naval battle with China in the next 5 years. I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
It could happen in the next 20 years as China's Navy reaches the level where they could challenge us. But I still think geography matters. And if it doesn't matter for conflict, it matters for trade.
Well, yeah, for trade, I absolutely agree. I just don't, for conflict, I think that, I mean, Space Force, you know, like, we have no idea what's really going on up there and what, so that's where, like, I'll make fun of Space Force until the end of time just because of the way that it was presented.
Yeah, but
it was just
maybe you need a
absolutely
tinfoil
hysterical.
hat.
But no, I absolutely wear a tinfoil hat at night when I go to sleep. That's
we
my
have tons
bed
of
cat.
treaties.
Yeah.
Where you can't weaponize space. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but there's a lot. There's a great book by Neil deGrasse Tyson that talks about it. There are so many treaties because people realize that that's the high ground of the next conflict.
Right. I just don't. I mean, I don't trust. This is where I contradict myself, right? I don't trust governments enough to really abide by treaties at the end of the day. Like, I think that at the end of the day, if somebody pisses somebody else off enough, if they want something that you have bad enough, they're going to take it. Treaties out the window, doesn't matter.
Historically proven, you're entirely correct.
Yeah, so
Fuck the Fed.
Yeah, fuck the Fed.
Oh, wait, I said that.
Nah,
Sorry.
fuck the Fed.
Yeah,
so,
welcome to the Libertarians.
Fuck the Fed. No, but I really, so this is where I do have libertarian beliefs as well. But you mentioned big government, right?
Yeah.
So something in my studies last night that I made sure that I got on was this is the Democratic Socialists of America, and I will let you know what I don't like about them because there is quite a bit.
Put the dick on the table, Taylor. Tell him.
I think
hypothetical.
Okay. But I do think that the Democratic Socialists of America are a bunch of cucks. That's what I said last night in our group text. I believe it. I'll tell you why in a second, but I want to get to the big government thing first because, again, this is a great... See, I'm sorry. BLM is on the mind. This has been what I'm about for years, but more so in the last 2 months. It's separating the Democratic Socialist movement from the organization that is the Democratic Socialists of America, because I don't agree with what they're doing. Ultimately, the goal of the Democratic Socialists of America is to find their place within the Democratic Party. That is never going to happen. It's never going to happen because at the end of the day, Republicans and Democrats want the politicians want the same things. They benefit from the same things, which is
corporate donors.
Corporate donors and a market, right?
Yeah.
They benefit from the same...
Lobbyists.
Yes, lobbying. So they benefit from the same things. So they're never... To me, I think Democrats like to put a nice spin on themselves socially, like, oh, we're morally better. Like, no, you're not. You use these social issues to pull people's emotions into it, and it's become extremely more easy for them because we have Trump as president, who is so fucking ridiculous that it's like, yeah, it's just comedy at this point. Like, I enjoy watching him talk, person, woman, man, camera, TV, person, woman, man. Oh, stop. But
China.
So he's made it so he's made it so easy. But anyway, I don't agree with this because democratic socialism and the Democrat Party are two completely opposing systems. They are two completely opposing systems to me. I know that it's, there's been these whispers within the Republican Party, like, oh, we're going to cut Social Security, or like, oh, Medicaid, or, Republicans radically disapprove of a universal health care system, but the Democrats say no with like a little heart next to it. Like, no. So,
It's like liking somebody's Facebook comment, but then doing the total opposite.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a really good idea, but we're just not going to do that. Like, it's just pandering to me. It's just not, I don't agree with it. But anyway, Democratic Socialists do not want to create an all-powerful government bureaucracy, but we do not want big corporate bureaucracies to control our society either. Rather, we believe that social and economic decisions should be made by those whom they most affect, which is the taxpayer. That is literally in the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, what is democratic socialism in a ball? That is one of the sections of it. I am someone that opposes big government because I don't trust them. That's why I support our Second Amendment right to form a militia and own a gun. Most people...
Bang, bang, motherfuckers!
Yeah, like that's a very libertarian, conservative thought of me. So I don't necessarily... To me, democratic socialism is power to the people. It's putting the power back into the people. And I think we've had the discussion before, like, I'll take it a step further and say indirect democracy with the system that we have today does not work in America because our elected officials do not vote with the wants of their constituents. They vote with the wants of who is in their pocket.
Let me pause you right there. So...
That was heavy. That's a heavy point.
But that's because most people don't understand the true definition of republic and democracy. And what are we currently living in? Republic. Now, you're a clever chick. Tell us what a republic is.
I'm not going to give you... I can't.
You can't?
No.
So basically, we agree as voters to pick out a smart fucking human to go up there.
Indirect democracy is what I would,
Yeah. So they go up there, and we just trust that they have our best interest at heart. And maybe someday they'll answer the phone when a veteran calls them up and says, "Hey, man, I need some VA benefits or whatever." And they say, "You know what, dude? Fuck that. I got a lobbyist sitting outside. I'm going to talk to him instead." So that's a republic. A democracy is
Chaos.
Why?
Really? You think that?
Well, so I'm going with the Founding Fathers. The reason the Founding Fathers didn't do direct democracy, even at a time when we were a very small country, is because they were still a product of a time where this kind of mob rule idea really scared them.
Yeah.
And I just walked down to the local Walmart and asked those people to run the country, is all I'm saying.
Well...
I think it's a bad idea, and I think that the Founding Fathers were right to say that direct democracy is a bad idea. Most people aren't going to be smart enough or informed enough to be able to make decisions that affect every single other person in their community.
But isn't that the job of the like your representative, and then your representative is supposed to use a I just heard the title the other day and I totally forgot what they're called. A person in your community that you reach out to that is supposed to, speak to your representative.
Well, you can call them up.
It's much like,
call up the representative.
we are in...
You can write them a letter, email.
It reminds me of, the fellowship that we're in.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that because we have a representative that goes to a meeting.
Sure.
And they take notes and they listen and they come back
sometimes.
And they say...
Some of them do.
I was a really good one. And then they say, this is what we talked about. This is the pros to this. This is the cons to this. Now, how are we going to vote?
Yeah.
And when you were speaking about, people not being smart enough or informed enough, that rung bells for me about the Electoral College, right? Because the Electoral College exists because people were illiterate and they didn't want a tyrannical government to overtake America.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't know if everyone else is in agreement with me. I think the Electoral College needs to be done away with immediately, or they at least need to be elected officials, which they're not in some states, and they need to vote with the popular vote of the state. Like, it's absolutely ludicrous to me that they have the ability to oppose that.
What I think you're right is I think you need to have penalties for faithless electors, but that's on a state level.
Yeah,
that can't be a national.
No, it can't. And I'm a big believer. Like, there's just so much going on in the world, like in our country. So I look at it like coronavirus response. I hate what happened in PA. My parents lost their business due to COVID.
Really?
They did.
That's a shame.
Yep. We closed our doors. And it was very hard to see that happen.
Yeah.
I don't think that Governor Wolf made terrible decisions. I think that he did what needed to be done, and we see that in numbers. We see that if the case numbers are right. We don't know. But
if they're being reported
if
correctly.
If the case numbers are reported correctly, then he did the right thing.
Just check all the memes on online.
Yeah, I'll just go on my Facebook feed for that guy in high
Tony
school that
contributing,
could barely
man. That was
read.
not a parrot moment right there.
No,
You
it's
know
not.
that?
Well,
Awesome.
I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut because I can go off on the COVID thing because it really pisses me off. I have a son that's disabled, and if he gets it, it is very, very dangerous.
Sure.
So I'm like, people just shut the fuck up, wear the mask, do what's right, and go on with your fucking life.
And I've seen the what has happened to people. I've seen what's happened to people, and that to me isn't the fault. I mean, it's a bit to the fault. It is to the fault of the government. We didn't give any relief. Socialism, we didn't give the small businesses and people of this country the relief that they needed. So now you're seeing the closure of small businesses. Tell me why in Pennsylvania, I'm really off the rails now. Tell me why in Pennsylvania, Lululemon and Ruth Chris's Steakhouse got small business grants. Why did that happen? Why the fuck did that happen? Who decided? Like, oh, multi-million, billion-dollar corporations, they need the relief. Not the mom and pop baseball academy that supports all the local high schools teams and Chester High School when they can't afford a facility for their kids to freaking practice in. My parents give them one for free. They don't deserve relief. They can get a $2,800 loan.
Yeah.
When their rent is $10,000 a month. It's just, I mean, that to me, I think that the decision to close was correct. I think that the way that it was handled was incorrect. And that me saying relief should have been provided is a socialist belief.
Yeah.
It's a socialist belief of mine. I don't agree that of how the.
I mean, we can.
Sorry, got a little bit.
No, I think you got a really.
I mean,
valid
there
point,
is
and you're
so
very
much
passionate about it, and it's
Yeah.
important to hear.
Well, and this is the reason that we're having these conversations, because I think that most Americans nowadays are passionate because we are all directly affected by what's going on here. I think a lot of people. I like to believe that I gather two of the smarter people that I know, because I am a numbskull and I make stupid decisions all the time. But ultimately, you know, this is affecting America, and most Americans are uninformed. So, you know, here we are. Let's discuss this the best we can. I did want to stop you because I did want to go back to an earlier conversation. We were talking about the Electoral College. And me being the fucking moron that I am, I want to dive further into that. This conversation that you just said, though, there is so much meat on this. I think we could do a whole episode strictly about that because, you know, the way small businesses are being affected in this country is everybody wants to believe that, oh, well, if you're a vote Republican, they'll take care of you. And if, you know, like the other party's definitely going to fuck you. But as we just
And this is where
proved,
I believe that free market capitalism is failing us. Like,
Sure.
It's sorry, but I think it is.
Well, and I believe that to some extent, you know, like but even, you know.
It's one of those things when the free market's going great and everything's ticking.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And America's prosperous, and that's super important and good. The problem is when the wheels come off, who's going to do something about it?
Yeah.
Who's going to help out? If a free market economy would say, tough luck.
Yeah,
And-
tough shit. You should have saved up.
Like, that's a terrible attitude to have.
Yeah.
That says I don't care about my neighbors. I don't care about my community. I don't give a crap what happens to anybody else as long as whatever I have is safe.
And that's
I don't think that's what America's about.
I don't
Yeah.
either, but unfortunately I think that we're seeing more and more that it kind of is, right? Even with these like anti-masker people, Like, who the fuck cares if you don't believe in wearing a mask? If there is a small percentage of potential that you're going to give Tony's son a deadly illness to him, even if your kid it won't be deadly to, why won't you put on the mask? Because we're in a free country? What the hell? And that's where I look at, like, in Japan. In Japan, they have had 12 coronavirus deaths. And they have a much larger elderly population than us, and they have many more citizens per capita than we do. And that is because they have a more communal idea of society. And we have a more independent idea of society. So there, it's you protect the community, and here it's you protect yourself. And that's where I think we're really seeing, like, if you want to use coronavirus as an example of what America is, we're seeing it.
Yeah.
I've talked to my wife about that a lot, and I have said that, you know, if you look at, I'm gonna harken back to the Greatest Generation, right? You got World War II, and admitted a war is kind of a different thing from a pandemic. But you had an entire country, for the most part, that said, okay, we've got something to do, let's take care of it. And they were growing victory gardens, the kids were gathering scrap, so you could go shoot more Germans. That level of closeness and involvement we kind of saw after 9/11. But it takes people dying to push us to that. Why are we not there with COVID?
Because it's been politicized. And
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, like, there is enough blame to go around here for Democrats and Republicans. But when you have a president that stands on a podium and says, I will not wear a mask for 4 months of a pandemic.
The earliest months, the most critical
The
months.
most critical months of a pandemic, say that he doesn't want the tests that the WHO offers. He's not going to buy them. 50,000 tests for all of America. That's what we buy. He's not going to wear a mask. Goes into a factory where coronavirus tests are being made, and they all have to be thrown out because he decided he didn't want to wear a mask. And then you have Trump publicans who will literally, he could take a shit on the ground and throw it at the wall and they would buy it. So
Preach.
they're gonna do whatever he says. I don't think that that's all Republicans. I want to make, there is a distinctive difference between a Republican and a diehard Trump supporter.
That's a whole other conversation too, though. Like, at the end of the day, I think that there is a certain amount of trolling with the Trump supporters. I think that there is a lot of disenfranchised. Listen, give me a moment here. Let me work through this thought here. But, like, you have, after Obama, you had so many white guys with pickup trucks that are driving around and they're like, I feel like, I'm the minority now. And Trump came along, and Trump was a troll, and Trump talked shit, and he, scorned the Democrats and rubbed shit in their faces and continues to do so, which is honestly my biggest pet peeve of his inability to reach across the fucking aisle and be productive for a moment, just for one fucking split hair of a second, to just do something productive. The country is fucking crumbling and dividing, and yet you're still concerned with making sure you look fucking good on the TV, and occasionally taking pop shots. Obama fucked this up, don't worry, I'll fix it. And every president, I will say this, and I know it sounds like we're on a tangent right now about how bad Trump is, but I am disappointed in the simple...
We did attack Biden in the beginning, just to be fair.
All right. So, but I will say
if
this.
If you want, I'll slam Obama later if it makes you feel better.
I mean, I'm a little annoyed by shit that Obama did too. But not because he's a black man. I will say that, and I think many Americans, white pickup truck driving Americans, and I know I'm being an asshole and I'm stereotyping
I used
right
to have
now.
A white pickup. I did, though. Go ahead.
But it's I don't know, man. You know what? Your fucking joke just threw me off course, man.
I really did. I apologize.
They felt disenfranchised.
They felt disenfranchised, and I feel like Trump gave, white American men this voice, and
not that you guys ever had it before.
not that we ever had a voice before. I mean, we were just good people that just cared about everybody, and I saw many times white guys in pickup trucks just driving down the road, just happy to help out black people all the time. Just fucking excited. I mean, they never made movies about all the crazy shit that, yeah, no, everything's been good. Hey, babe, right? You remember that?
I'm going to push back for a second. I think the people you're talking about are a minority.
Yeah?
I think they are a minority. I think that they are a small, vocal, stubborn percentage of the American population. They are a minority.
Have you ever been to a country concert in Camden? They're not a minority.
No, but what he's saying...
No, but I'm saying that people that are like diehard Trump, and I'm about, 30 seconds away from lynching somebody, that's not a lot of America, I don't think.
I think that you're right to a point. I think that most people that you're describing are the
boisterous,
they're the
racist.
radicals. They're the radicals, and I think that if we're gonna put it to racism, like most racists are closeted. I think that a lot of them don't even like realize that they're as racist as they are. So there's that, but I find it funny that you talk about the disenfranchisement because there's this connection between Bernie supporters and Trump supporters because
do tell.
Okay, so you have two groups of people that feel disenfranchised, right? They feel that they're getting the shit end of the stick. Bernie supporters will say, or Democratic socialists will say, I am getting the shit end of the stick because these corporations and billionaires take all the wealth for themselves, hoard it, and then the government supports them hoarding that wealth by not taxing them appropriately, by letting them get these bailouts from taxpayer money when we don't get bailed out, and the minimum wage being $7.25 an hour, which we can talk about that later because I have my own feelings on it. The fact that, I'm going broke because I have these medical bills that I can't afford and they're going to take my house over it. And the Democratic Socialists blame the people in power and the people that the rich people of this country, the 1%, right? You'll hear the 1% has taken, so
that was a good one.
So you have these people that feel it's them. The people in power and the richest people in the country are the ones that are disenfranchising us. And then you go over to the Trump side. I'm going to be stereotypical. It's the blacks, it's the Mexicans, it's all the immigrants, it's the welfare recipients. They're all taking my job and taking my money. And that's where die-hard Trump supporters, for me, I almost have sympathy for them because it seems to me to be a very unintelligent stance to have. I don't have sympathy for racists. I don't have sympathy for bigots or misogynists.
Wait, that's me.
Sexist. No, you're not.
Yeah, dude, I'm like, listen, you're going down the list right now, and I'm
Okay.
checking. I'm checking.
I don't have...
Right, babe? My wife's sitting over there.
I don't have sympathy for those people, but the people that truly believe that they have been disenfranchised by poor people, that to me is what... I mean, if I was one of the top 1% of this country and I didn't want to be taxed, I'd want the middle class to be mad at the lower class and not at me.
So I'm gonna steal the limelight for a moment
Go
here.
for it, man.
But
I'm
because
like,
I
it's
think
great.
For one, that was me. That was a part of why I came to libertarianism as opposed to the Republican Party, because I felt duped. I felt that the Republican Party was selling me bullshit. And even as a younger person, I came out of the military. I was more democratic thinking back then. And I remember talking to my parents, and my parents were, registered Republicans, and they explained their views to me. And I was distraught about it, but I also thought after a while the same thing. Small business owners, I get the capitalism thing, I understand, but I think the party in particular is fucking you, And so the sales pitch that I often hear, that I hear from, young white Americans or whatever, oh, they're fucking me. It's all the propaganda that gets pushed in that party in particular. Here, this is the real problem. They're the problem. Fight with them, fuck them, build a wall. Them people over there need to get kicked out of the country, which, listen, let me interrupt my own thought for a second. I have bad news to any asshole listening to my show that really do believe that the minorities are going to pack their shit up and leave this country. No, it's not going to happen. In fact, the dreamers are going to stay, most likely, whether you like it or not. And the illegal immigrants are just going to fly in airplanes over the fucking wall like they've been doing. I'm an Irish American. My grandparents were immigrants. This is the immigration thing. I'm going to dive off for a second here. I don't buy the stop the immigrants thing. I understand screening is probably a good idea just because of the hostility of the way the world is right now. But I don't know. This bullshit idea of building a fucking silly-ass wall is this
Mexico
fucking...
is going to pay for.
Wow, that's a whole fucking
during the hurricane,
joke.
It actually collapsed.
That's amazing.
The fucking
I
wall
haven't
has
heard this.
already been there.
Oh, that makes me...
You didn't hear about that?
Nope, it really just got me going. I want to hear what Ben had to say.
Yeah, so anyway, I went off on a little tangent there, but now it's Ben's turn, and at the end of the day, though, this is the issue. The propaganda, And I think that's where the divide is starting at in our country, is that both parties are old parties selling bullshit to the new generation, and it's bullshit.
Well, isn't it funny now that the Democrats are using, instead of what Bernie's Democrats looked like, now that it's Biden, the boogeyman is just Trump. Trump is the only problem. He is the only problem. Get him out.
When I voted the last election, I was actually a Trumper guy.
Oh God!
But I
that's because you're a white guy.
That's why I was a white guy. I worked, and that's what everyone was telling me.
Yeah.
And then finally, I got clean, and I realized, it's dumb. That's why I literally texted Taylor. I'm like, I just switched my party to Democrat, so I'm voting for Bernie. Yeah. I literally, as soon as I did that, I texted her and told her.
Well, I think that
my
there's
social media did one good thing in the world that day.
Well, I think at the end of the day, though, it is about being an informed voter. And at the end of the day, that's my whole hope from this show, is not necessarily to sway anybody to think like I do, or you do, or Ben does, or
I'm a
Tony
parrot.
does. Tony's a parrot. Tony's going to do whatever the fuck we say.
I think you just disproved that.
But
go ahead.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, though, I think it's about doing the research, reading and diving into it, and understanding what exactly are your true beliefs. And listen, I know earlier I took a serious pop shot at union members that vote Trump, but at the end of the day, if in your heart you believe that...
They stopped listening after you said that.
Well, fuck them. Listen, I don't have that many listeners anyway, so, I used to joke last season.
Well, with an entrance like that, your theme song probably...
That's a total dick and fart jokes kind of entrance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I'm going to keep it.
Should have me singing.
Ben, you were going to say something, and
You were itching.
I'm still itching. I've been very patient. Good. I'm going to piggyback off what you said about propaganda, because I think you're 100% correct.
Okay.
I think that both parties, entrenched as they are with corporate money and this long-running, I'm going to be a career politician attitude, I think that both parties benefit when the quote-unquote average American looks at the other average American next door to them and says, they have or are going to get something that I have or want, and they're the bad guy. I think that the culture wars, the race wars, or whatever you want to call the social conflict that we're undergoing right now, is a massively successful distraction and evasion campaign by people who are better off than we are. I think our current conflicts should be class conflicts, not social conflicts.
So
and maybe that's a little Marxist of me, but I don't think I should be angry at people who are in a Black Lives Matter rally because they're upset at police brutality. I think that they are in some ways, even though I may not agree with their platform 100%, they're just like me. They are on the bottom rung, just like I am. I may be half a rung ahead of them. Maybe, if I'm lucky. If I keep my job to the end of the month. You know?
That
I don't have billions of dollars sitting in my pocket in case... Well, I don't have a golden parachute in case I get chopped from my job. Everybody is just 2 or 3 paychecks away from abject poverty.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are already there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be fighting with the person who's 2 steps away from abject poverty like I am.
And that's
I
the
should be
great
upset
dupe.
and fighting that 1%.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that is the major, that's like, so, I didn't know where you were going to go with this when you said that you were itching.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to hear. Yeah, I mean, we could dive into the BLM stuff layered like an onion.
No, but you know what?
I do think that I do think that, I don't know. I think that I've been reading a lot, right? And I've been reading this book called So You Want to Talk About Race. And that is a very white guy argument to make, to say, I don't think that it's a race issue. I think it's a class issue. And you're not completely wrong in that. Like, well, who am I to tell anybody that they're wrong? In my head, you're not completely wrong in that, in my opinion. But there is a separation when it comes to blacks in poverty and whites in poverty.
I don't dispute that at all.
Yeah, and
I think that's the root cause.
Yeah, and I believe that as well. And that's also when you talk, like, I think that there is a serious problem still with systemic racism in the country that is just has been pushed under the rug for so long, and I don't understand why, like, it's taken the majority of America watching a black man be strangled to death for 8 minutes and 46 seconds that long to wake up. Like, I hate that it had to come to that. I hate that it had to happen this way.
I don't think the awareness that you are hoping is happening has happened already.
No, I don't think that. I think that, I honestly, here's what I'll say about it. I think that when the video of George Floyd came out, you had a lot of people that were in the middle about this issue say, okay, this is a fucking problem. And they came out guns blaring, and then the riots happened.
Yeah.
And they got scared, and they trickled back. And I actually had this conversation with my friend recently, who we go on live on Facebook sometimes together to talk about the world. And he's a black man, and I said to him, you know, my worry is that we had these people in the middle came over and said, okay, we recognize the problem, and then as soon as the riots started, we lost a few, right? And then we still had a few that were like, okay, I can understand the anger. And then you have BLM as an organization coming out and saying some very radical shit that the average American, again, we have weaponized the words socialist, Marxist, communist, coming out, them as an organization and the leaders of the organization coming out and saying, we are trained Marxists. That, to somebody who doesn't know what Marxism is, sounds like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Or to people who know exactly what Marxism is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, why is why is Marxism so scary?
Well, because it's a direct battle against capitalism, which people, when you say capitalism, people associate that directly with American culture.
Yeah.
So I think that they're basically claiming that it's a direct attack at, like, we're changing everything in America. And so the average American that goes to work and works their job, and I think they take it as a direct attack themselves, and they say, well, what do you mean? You want me to change? The problem, I think, in our country is we don't know how to be subtle. There is no subtle walk
not
into,
anymore. Yeah, there is.
you know.
no.
So if we try to explain and say, listen, we definitely need more socialist organizations, or maybe we need to change a few, or even let's take while we're still on this topic, the hot topic of police brutality, the idea of defund the police. So everybody is losing their fucking minds because if you say defund the police, there are about 10 different definitions currently at the moment, and nobody seems to really understand exactly what you're suggesting.
We don't want to abolish the police. We want to defund the police.
Yeah, Tony, what does that mean?
Let's not go too far. Go ahead.
All right. So when we say defund the police, we means we don't give them millions and millions of dollars to get all these weapons that they don't need.
Yeah.
They want to put money back in the communities. Mental health is a huge issue in communities in inner cities. And mental health, substance abuse, put money towards that, and then hopefully crime goes down, but give it a try. Education. Exactly. There's a lot more things that you can put money to help your communities out, and will probably lower crime in your communities.
I think that's a 10 or 20 year plan. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's essential that we do that. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah.
On the fact that we absolutely have to have a better education system. We absolutely have to have a better treatment of mental health in the United States. We've totally dropped the ball on that as a society. I have seen and know from firsthand accounts that it's kind of important that the police have an APC.
I'm not saying but they have millions and millions of dollars that they don't need.
There is, just like in the military, which we can cover another time.
Well, we're gonna go there.
There is massive.
We can talk about the military.
Massive amounts of waste.
Yeah, we don't want to overfund them.
But that's...
And I think that what you're talking about is just fiscal responsibility and smart budgeting.
Yes.
That has completely gotten away from us on the municipal level, on the state level, and on the national level. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm yelling at you for banging on the table.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but what I was going to say is that's not what the definition of the word defund is, though. That's my argument. Because when you say defund, there is a direct Webster's dictionary word that says defund means this. And that means we're going to take the money away from the police and fuck the cops. We're going to go do whatever we want now. And that's an issue.
Yeah.
Because we need some form of law enforcement in this country. Now, I have said from the very beginning that I do believe we need reform.
Mm-hmm.
This country has gotten far away from the idea of reform. Nobody wants to change anymore. We either want to change everything, or we're not going to change a fucking thing, and we're going to leave it the same and just, well, fuck it. Sometimes people get killed.
And we talked about that earlier. Like, that's the whole, if you're BLM, you're anti-cop, that kind of
bipolar
ideology. Yes, and that's not the case. I don't understand how we had an instance in our community where a police officer who came out, a very respected police officer, came out and said on social media, if you speak out against the police, we will do everything in our power not to support you, on a police brotherhood. I don't know what the
FOP
FOP Facebook page. Then on his own page shared it and said, "Try us, we'll destroy you." This man no longer has a job.
He shouldn't.
There are people that will say he should because he didn't mean it that way and he was just upset. And listen, I have family ties to this person.
Yeah.
I understand being upset and feeling like you and your occupation of serving your community is being attacked. What I don't understand is how you could so terribly word a post in a social climate that we are in, and to say that if you speak out against the police, we will do everything in our power not to support you. Now, he meant financially.
Yeah.
Supposedly, that's what he meant. He meant that we're not going to go to your business. If your business speaks out against the police, we're not going to go there. Okay, that's fine. Not what you said, though. Not what you said.
I hope what he got fired for was unprofessional conduct, because that was professionally stupid.
Right, and it was.
Not what he said.
But even that
but
statement...
saying that is dumb.
Right.
Even that defensive statement of saying economically we won't defend your business or whatever. So the way I interpret that is if your business is being robbed, they're saying that we're not going to...
Right, that's how I took it.
We're not going to go over there and police your business.
That's how I took it.
And as a military member, I'm going to tell you this. Whether there are people in this country that want to burn flags and protest against the military, as a veteran, I was obligated to protect them. There was no choice involved. There was just do your job. So my argument to that is that's still a shitty excuse.
Do we want to talk about how police officers get more respect than veterans in the country, or
well,
are we not gonna get there?
I don't know.
That's a weird cultural thing.
Yeah,
isn't it really
just
weird?
across the board? Even that, like, people are like, "Oh, you were in the military." Like, I know guys that fought in conflict, not
me, man. I just picked my nose. Dude, I was a mediocre soldier at best. I'm going to openly admit that to everyone. I was not a ranger. I wasn't special forces. I sometimes changed my clothes and took a shower, you know.
I mean, I know guys that were in World War II, not on the front lines. I know guys that were in combat in World War II. No,
do you really?
Yeah, they passed. I knew a guy that was in Korea. Absolutely would not talk about it. I asked his daughter and then his granddaughter. He was in a retreat back from the 38th parallel. That was possibly the worst time anybody ever had in the military. And so I also know people that just drove trucks.
Yeah.
You know? And I didn't serve. I can't say, oh, well, you should have been a war hero. No, the military needs all of those people doing all of those things to do its job. But to say, like, oh, yeah, you know, let me buy you a beer just because you're doing a job. Nobody buys a beer for construction workers that die all the time, making America run. Nobody buys a beer for healthcare workers. Well, maybe now, but before, when they were catching weird diseases.
I mean, my
dying,
wife's right here, so I can't admit how many nurses I've bought beers for, but I'm just saying, once upon a time, I supported the cause.
Yeah.
Hey, babe.
But I don't know, I think it's a weird cultural thing.
All right, guys, there you have it. That was part 1. Stay tuned next week for part 2, and stay tuned for The American Divide, coming very soon.